At Parker, our purpose is simple. We want to make the world a better place by working more efficiently, by using more sustainable practices, by developing better technologies. We keep moving forward. With each new idea, innovation, and partnership, we're one step closer to fulfilling our purpose every single day. To find out more, visit parker.com/purpose. Parker, engineering your success.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
No music, no intro, but if you listen closely enough, you can hear Patick Claybon's super nice neighborhood. The birds are chirping. It sounds beautiful where he's living right now. Another episode of #Saints Twitter podcast. So Ryan and I have wanted to get Patick Claybon on the show for a while, and Ryan was like, "Man, if we get Patick on, like what the hell are we going to talk about?" Like that was kind of, and I said, man, like it's the Saints Twitter podcast, but it doesn't have to be about the Saints. Like you're someone that, we both follow on Twitter. You are kind of a Twitter, you're a fixture of NFL Twitter. So joining our show is Patick Claybon of NFL Network. How you doing, man?
Man, I just needed you guys to have a show and then invite me. That's it.
Is that similar to when you had the shrimp bowl and I was not invited?
Yeah, it's the same thing. And maybe it was like retaliation. And I know you guys got, Baldy and Cosell, we got big names. And so I'm just like, man, I'm happy for the dudes, but maybe we could talk. We can talk shop.
No, trust me. When we started it, after the second episode, I said, man, we got to get Patick on. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about. We got to get him on.
And if you're a listener of this podcast and you're expecting this to be a whole bunch of Saints, minutia 4-3, this is not. We might not even really discuss football. There is so much that we can just talk about that is bigger than football, because a lot of things are bigger than football. So I'm just giving that forewarning to listeners. This might not be the podcast in terms of the football.
I mean, that's generally whenever anybody has me on anything, that's it's generally hey, you might not want to listen to this. That's what I always love. That's the best preamble.
We'll just start with Ryan's mentions. Today has been a day where I don't even know how to put it into context. This whole debate about police and good cops, bad cops, and race, and then I checked my boys' mentions, and they are on fire. I don't know what happened when this morning. I left and they're ablaze, and so I'll let you guys kind of.
Well, okay, yeah, I want to get Ryan's reaction, because what happened for me, because I'm just I'm chasing the 3-year-old around. And I look on my timeline, and I see this guy talking about that boy Wolf is saying cops are bad, and that wasn't going to happen on my watch.
This is Jon Snow? Is he in the north?
I'm like, oh my God, that dude's going to come in Ryan with the saber. He's going to You have
He trying to
offended
get
the honor of cops. And so,
he trying to get his cop homies on me, man. I'm like, damn. But I mean, what's crazy is like I usually don't even get into stuff on Twitter, but I mean, I made the mistake of commenting on, obviously some injustice that happened recently. The murder of another black man. Another can't breathe situation. Another like just blatant on video a murder. A murder before our eyes. I remember years ago when I was growing up, we would rent tapes like Faces of Death. Like that was the only times you would see like death and stuff like that like happen on video.
yeah.
But now it's like it's the norm. You just we put on Twitter, you're gonna see somebody die, and I commented on it, and we were just discussing like, hey, there's a problem with cops. This is obvious. It's 2020. We know this. It's not news. And he's just like, hey, I disagree. Well, why do you disagree? Like, well, what if you switched out cops with black people? Not just like not all black people are bad, not all cops are bad. It's like, oh,
which, as you said, is some of the dumbest shit that anybody could say, right? Because we were born like we didn't have a choice. I would choose, honestly. I would choose to be. People choose. They grow up living in the society, seeing all the things cops do, seeing the way that they treat people, and they make a choice. Right? They make a choice to be a cop.
A cognitive choice.
And so you are prolific at blocking people, and that's why I was like, oh, Ryan is kind of he's in his bag today, because if I saw some shit like that would be the end of the conversation.
So Ryan still hasn't gotten to the point like of us where like just that one thing and they're like he lets it go on just for a little bit and then
Because look, I like debate. I really do. Like I like hearing something that's gonna look like, oh, I haven't heard that point before. Let's talk it out, even if I don't disagree. Don't agree with it. But I just hate dumb shit. Like man, like stupid logic that just like if you read my tweet and you just completely reformulate it to mean something different, like it's blocked to me. Like you get blocked. I just have no time for that.
And the thing is, like you said, it was 2020. Like the police in America have been a problem in 1820, in 1920. Like this is nothing new.
Nothing.
And so the idea, right? Like I'll use my family as an example. So my brother was a corrections officer, and he'd be the first person to tell you, jail does not fix people. Like the American criminal justice system doesn't make anything better, right? And my mother, God rest her soul, was a physician. She was a psychiatrist. And the very first thing, like the story of me being born, the infant mortality rate for Black women in the state of Alabama is extraordinarily high. It's high for Black women all over America.
Right.
And so my mom and my Aunt Peach were in Huntsville, and I started, she was pregnant with me, and I was coming out that day. It wasn't necessarily like, something that I was ready to come out, but I had just made the decision, I guess, that I was coming out. They drove 112 miles an hour from Huntsville to Birmingham because my mom knew that her best chance for me and her to survive was to get to Brookwood Medical Center in Birmingham to get to her doctors. And my mother is a physician. It's what she worked for, what she strived for. If you told my mom that there was a problem with the way that hospitals and doctors and administrators work in America for Black women, she wouldn't look at you and say, well, not all doctors. She would say, fuck yeah, there's a problem.
Man.
And these dumbasses, right? Like there's all kinds of systemic racial issues in America, and you don't fix them at the ground level.
No.
Let's any of it. There's so many, like lending, right? You want to get a loan and you look the wrong way, you're gonna have some problems.
It's a wrap.
And so are we gonna fix that by changing the bank tellers? No. So why does this dumbass conversation always come back to, well, what about the good cops? What about them?
And this has been the same conversation, like when when the Rodney King beating, in what 91, 92.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was 10 years old. I remember that same conversation then. Not all cops are bad. It's like, can we move past this part of the conversation? Like, can we move past this? Because to me, this is like chapter 1 of the conversation. Are all cops bad or not? Blah 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 blah. Okay, let's move to chapter 2. We should be on chapter 10 by now.
Yeah, it's not even in the book, man.
No.
This is like baby's first book there, where it like introduces the concept of cops. Like that's where that should be covered. Like by the time we're at this conversation, like we're in 101 now, and we should understand that the outcomes of this system aren't right, and the reason they're not right is because people make a choice for them not to be right.
Not to be right, yeah.
And for somebody, and honestly, I'm laughing about it, but I'm starting to get pissed off. Where like he's questioning your adherence to blackness itself because you criticize some cops.
You know what? I just, but that dude. I mean, I'm not even gonna say his name, but he's known for being a contrarian, and I get that. I could be contrarian too. But he's like to the point where of being contrarian just to be a contrarian. And you're not doing anything productive. You're not bringing any logic, any reason to the conversation. You're just talking, man. And I don't know. I mean, I don't even block people like that, man. But man, you got to get out of here, bro. Yeah.
It got Ryan so high, like he was speaking to the level of like, if keep that same energy if you see me in the streets.
Just come see me, I mean, if you, I don't know if you're from New Orleans or not. I'm down there every weekend. See me, But and I just hate. I hate to even get to that level on the internet because we're on the internet. Like I've been on the internet since I was like 16, and there's always been tough talk and all that. But I never get into that stuff because it's stupid. It's not going to happen. But I was like, man, that was just crazy. Shout out to Alan, my dude Alan, by the way. Because he was the one that kicked off that whole conversation, and he's, you're a righteous brother.
Speaking of the topic of just race, something that we had kind of discussed, that we wanted to talk to you about is you, Patrick, being working at the NFL Network. Besides, I can only maybe think of Steve Weiss, who's been doing the job for a super long time. You're one of, I mean, in terms of on-air talent, you're the only black male that hasn't been like a player or work like in a type of front office role. How has that, I don't want to say struggle because I don't want to feel like I'm putting words in it, but how has that been in your career, being Black and working in an NFL network and trying to get to where you want to go in your career?
Well, I think generally for everybody, right? For all of us, there was a great paper. I got to try to find it, and I'll put it on y'all's timeline, just about navigating white space, which is something that we all have to do.
And it's funny because you say it, and we all know exactly what you mean.
We know exactly what it means. I don't even need to see the paper. And it's like
don't even need to at all because we know what it is. We know what it is.
And so, like, that's going to be the same no matter what you do. Like if you work at Costco, when I started as a reporter in Dothan, Alabama. Can y'all hear that ice cream truck? I gotta.
No,
it's probably too loud out here. Anyway.
Ice cream!
My son's probably in there going nuts. But yeah, like, cause you start. That's when I started, and it's always kind of been there for me. Just figuring out how to navigate that space, which is a space that I was born in. Right, my parents were both physicians. Birmingham, like most of America, was super segregated.
Ooh.
And they they took us to a place where we could have a decent opportunity. And so as far as being the only one in the room, it's been like that for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's just in terms of like managing it, it's taken a long time for me to speak up. You know, I haven't always, and you guys know, like, you know, just not that I'm like anybody special, but you develop a voice over time, and there's some things that you can kind of pick up on, and in the brief moments I have on television, I try to feel like I can you know distribute information equitably about our league, where a significant percentage of the players are black, and it's tough. It's tough some places. I mean, you guys consume NFL content,
Yeah.
and you get some of the voices that take our our overwhelmingly black league, and some of the topics in terms of the way players are discussed, or especially players' salaries. You're missing something, and I don't think I can provide. It's not, race is a social construct. It's not my DNA that allows me to to have that perspective.
Right.
It's experiences, and we have those experiences, all of us. And so, like, in a situation where, like, Dak's contract is a big discussion, right?
Right.
It would be impossible to not look at that situation, see the way Cap was run out of the league, see the way that Cam is without a job, and say that his blackness isn't a factor. Right? It's a clear factor to me. And people would suggest that, oh, but we were making everything about race. No, I live in America, and I recognize the circumstances that America has put people in. And so it just applies. It applies to so much, and that makes some people upset, but it does. And so you have to pick and choose spots, because we live in a place where there's a certain point of view, and that certain point of view has always been well represented, and it's always had a lot of power. And so you do have to navigate that. Some try to navigate it more delicately than I do, but you just have to navigate it, and I try, and I think more people are trying now too. So
I wanted to ask you, does anybody ever come to you like, hey man, chill with those tweets or something like that? Like, like,
no,
does anybody
honestly,
ever nobody?
no. My bosses, the people that I work with, like the superiors, everybody has always understood every point that I've tried to make. There was only one circumstance where an unnamed team representative reached out to me about a tweet, and I was just like, you know what, man, if you're calling me, I don't want you to make us think about it. I'll delete it. And that was just one time. Of course, it did involve police and policing, and so I just decided it wasn't worth it at that point. But that was my decision,
Right.
And so nobody has ever come at me about anything. Now there was one time where I let something slip about a company that we partner with. that was a no-no. So yeah, that was my bad. But other than that, man, everybody up to this point is in like a tool for the league. But it's a room full, and as far as like all the reporters and like all the insiders, they're not using any special league access. Like we're just doing the job.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
like there's some things that we leave alone, just from the standpoint of wanting to be extra sure about everything, to not run afoul of any team or any league representative. But like, I mean, we're just another media organization that happens to work directly with the league.
So like,
I can't lie, man. It took. Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, like, you say that, and one of the situations that kind of instantly come to mind was a couple of years ago, the whole stuff that happened with, like, the owner of the Texans and, like, running the asylum and just all, just, like, I mean, maybe you can't say it, but, like, just the most, like, not veiled racist stuff that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was very apparent, like, what was meant in those statements. Like, I guess my question is, how do you, like, you have to walk that line of being NFL Network employee, but also being a black man where you feel like you need to speak your mind in terms of, like, the realness of the situation. Like, how is that sometimes difficult for you to walk that line?
I don't really think it's super difficult. In terms of, you know, Bob McNair, in that particular instance, you know, I don't delete a lot of tweets, you know, and if anybody wants to know, you know, what my definition of racism is, how I feel about the ideology of white supremacy and its outcomes, there's literally thousands of tweets that people can search, and so in that instance, I don't really know what there was to add.
Right.
Have 2 lines at most, you know, and it's gonna be pithy, and it's, you know, you're gonna read it. You might have to read it twice or 3 times, and you'll be like, "That's a good ass tweet, man."
That's what I try. I mean, that's what I try to do, and I try to have fun because, like, you know, you get angry sometimes, and, like, it's never good. It's never good when you're angry, and so, like, people always talk about snark, and, like, I have to be snarky because if I'm not snarky, like, I'm gonna lose my job. Like, I'll be on the street because the fingers will get on that keyboard and they'll just start going. I mean, you guys know, I'll get in your DMs when I'm hot about something. It's just like,
Yep.
and so, like, you have to try to walk a line. But if the site's not fun, like, if you're not having fun on the site, if you're not learning something on the site, if you're just arguing with people, and that's why I block so many people. Like, if, you know, it comes to the point now where, like, I'll click on somebody's profile, like, when I see something cross, and if I see some keywords
Yep.
in there,
Instant
like,
block.
just in their header, like, I'm not gonna invest the time and energy into that.
Boom.
You know,
Blocked.
because then my wife's looking at me on my phone like, "Who are you arguing with?" I'm like, I'm not gonna be like that. It's just like, all right, like, I have nothing to offer to this person,
None.
and they have nothing to offer to me.
Period.
So what are we doing here? Well, no.
It's funny because people, I guess, in Saints Twitter kind of look at me as, like, the king of blocking, and, like, no, like, that's not, like, that's you. And I think because of who you are and your presence, like, there's, like, more people. I can't even imagine what, like, your mentions or anything like that is like. So your reach in terms of the amount of people that you block, like, far exceeds mine. And it's funny, I don't even know how long I've known Ryan now. Like, my methodology of just, you know what, man, just block and move on. Like, that has slowly worn off on him because he wasn't like that at the beginning. He was like,
Really
I'll mute.
Yeah.
My favorite today was the almond.
An almond, not even an egg. Like,
so,
he actually took the time to say, "Well, I don't like this egg. Let me look up an almond, download it, save it, and post it as his advocate." I was like, "Man, what the?" All right.
and so, like, y'all know me. Like, I saw your tweet, and I'm like, let me go block this guy.
Yeah. as soon as I see Ryan block someone, I go to that person. Blocks. So then this is a question for Ryan: is what has made you change your mindset in terms of being more prone to the block?
Oh man, I mean, honestly, it's just having more followers now. Back when I had seriously, when I had 300 followers, a nice little manicured, Twitter following. I mean, I just didn't get much heat in my mentions. But now, with the way Twitter is set up, if someone likes your tweet, it shows up on someone's timeline, even if they aren't following you. So I guess my tweets just get in more people's sites, and I just get, man. I mean, I see people that's adding me, and they don't follow anybody I know. It's like they're just coming out the woodworks, and I'm like, okay, so it just makes sense to block them. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, man, but I mean, I get them out of here now. I'm not on your level because I still like a little bit of heat in my mentions just to make it interesting. But just stupidity, I just can't stand stupidity. If you come at me with some good arguments, even if I don't agree with them, but I'm oh, he's bringing the facts, I'm all right with it. But if you just I disagree and you make some logical fallacy that just makes no sense, I ain't got time for that, man. No time.
It's I'm for me, of course, the 2016 election was a point where I had just decided, because you talked about around being on the internet. I remember I was in 6th grade, and I went down to the computer lab because I was a Shark Week guy, and I watched so much Discovery Channel. And I went to the computer lab because I've been seeing all these commercials about the internet, and I opened up Netscape, and I went to discovery.com, and that was the first website I ever went to. And shortly thereafter, I was on Instant Messenger, just AOL. I'm in chat rooms, and here I am, this black boy on the internet, just arguing with racists that, because that's all I've ever done. And so I did that for decades, right? Just decades, just begging and pleading with these people to treat me like a human being. And I'm on Xbox Live, I'm on the PlayStation Network, just racial slur. And then 2016 happens, and I just realized, you know what, Patrick? You're not going to save these people from themselves. I'm not going to convince these people of anything.
No.
So what am I doing interacting with them on the internet? Who the hell do I think I am I'm going to
change their mind? That's so this logic. That's
right. They wake up on the same planet with the same access to information that I do.
And they just choose to use it completely differently.
Yeah. And so I've talked to people all the time, because I do like talking to people, and they always get to this point where, so are you just, wait, hold on, so are you just going to write off a significant segment of the population of America? And I'm like, shit, yeah, I'm going to write off a significant, how do you think we got this way? What am I going to do? Am I going to hug them? Am I going to be what's his name's killer's family and go hug somebody and heal the world? No.
The Dallas shooting with the cop or whatever. Oh.
So no, I'll just block them, and then they don't have to worry about me because I know they don't. And I'm not going to sit here and live in this fantasy world where this idea that they're going to be my potential ally. Guys, I know who my allies are.
Right.
And most importantly, I know who my enemies are.
So
and I can tell pretty quickly. And that's I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm really good at that. I'm really good at it.
So this is a question I have. I mean, I just when we're just letting it fly right now.
Let's do it.
I think I know the answer to it because we are both proud members of the hashtag swirl tendency population, right?
Come on, man.
So with that said, I know what it's been like dating outside my race. And so how has that, like, how is that for, I know how it is for me because I've dealt with it almost my entire life. With how has that been for you? Because I know how it is. Even in California, you going out with your wife somewhere out in public, obviously not right now with the virus, you still get those looks from both sides of the field. Like, it's not just one side, you get them from both sides.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you can get looks from anybody, and those looks can come from a number of places. And the things that, and like I was saying at the start of this, there's so many unfair circumstances placed on Black women, and if somebody is upset with me because they think that, like, I chose a woman out of, like, a character selection screen,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, that's not how life works, right? like a girl slid in my DMs, and then we watched Battleship on the telephone, and I drove to see her while she was in Charlotte, and I fell in love with her, and now she's gonna produce 2 of my children, and I love that woman. And so, like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell some kind of, like, I don't see race lie, because that's not the world that we live in.
Right.
But, like, I love my wife, and that doesn't say anything about you. Can be the most beautiful woman in the world. Me loving my wife has nothing to do with that. But, like, in terms of, like, colorism is a real thing. Like, people choose people based on their shade and all that. All I can tell people is I didn't make a choice like that. But I do know that it's a real thing that exists. So I'm not gonna, if somebody's mad at me because I love my wife, like, hey, go for it. That's an individual choice that I made. But what we can worry about are the systems that hurt people and harm people and their outcomes. We can focus on that. And I'll talk to you all day about that. But, like, if somebody is agitated because I love the mother of my children, like,
Right.
I don't know. I guess they could talk to somebody else about that.
There you go.
But, like,
Come on.
in terms of like race itself, like, the thing that I'm a huge proponent of, and, like, what both of my children will know and they'll grow up with, is that, like, the whole concept of race, that we're these different people, it's all a lie. It's a lie that was created to enslave and demean people. There's biological race just isn't a thing.
Right.
But what is real is the way that our society has acted on that lie. And that's as real as night and day. And that's as real as those videos we see of real people being murdered. And so, like, when somebody, tries to tell you something like, hey, your blood pressure is looking pretty good for a Black guy. It's like, no, man, like, what's my blood pressure? Like, don't try to grade me on a curve.
Right.
Because I got 23 chromosomes. like we're the same. Like, we're the same. We're not the same, but we are the same. Right. And so that's the point of view that I come at it from. And I think more people are starting to come at that, because I think people weren't always armed with the language to be able to share that idea. And, like, one of the things that struck me was Dr. Kendi, just straight up, as simple as you can, like, there's nothing wrong with Black people. And, like, that like spoke to me, because you run across people, especially like, I had a colleague that was like, well, here's the problem with Black people. And it's like, hold up, let me stop you there. Let me stop you right there. You know what I mean? And this is a Black man. This is a man that I grew up idolizing. And he starts a sentence like that. And yeah, like, I get cross about that. And that's so that's the spot that I try to start with. Like, if you're making an argument that implies that there's some sort of intrinsic flaw in Black people, then I don't need to talk to you. I just don't, because I don't have anything for you. But
Yeah,
man,
there's no solid foundation there to even start, you know.
yeah.
But
So
a quick shout out to Chris Westling, just had a baby. He's world tendencies too with Lakeisha, you know. So I love it. I love it. A
no,
beautiful baby too. I saw the picture. That was
Beautiful,
a good looking baby.
beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful baby.
that's old Link Wesley. I mean, those
Yeah.
that's two good people, man. That's
Lincoln,
two good
like that's
people.
a name, Lincoln. But I wanted to ask you. Uh, I really wanted to ask you this. The whole Jay-Z partnering with the NFL inspired change thing. I mean, my time. I don't know how your timeline looks, but I follow a lot of youngsters on my timeline. A lot of guys, under 25, and man, they just rip Jay-Z all day. I mean, you don't even have to. There's nothing about Jay-Z in the news, and they're just ripping them. Whatever they want to call it. I mean, he's a sellout. He's a
Uh,
sellout. He's this. He's that. The other. I mean, I don't know your opinion on Jay-Z, but I just wanted to know from your. I just didn't know much about what was going on with that partnership. I just never could really find out like any real good information. Like, were you privy to anything going on? Because I know your ears are always open to that type of stuff.
I in terms of like what any agreements were, all I had access to were the releases and the statements. So like, and I know I had seen that he pledged some money to run through to the initiative, but aside from that, I think I had a thread where I kind of went through what I knew, and I've kind of
Yeah,
forgotten about it.
yeah, you
But
did. Yeah,
it was just like in terms of the conversation at that point, uh, there wasn't much to talk about. Like,
yeah,
and it's like, well, Jay-Z's doing all these things, and here's where I come down on Jay-Z is a billionaire, right?
yeah.
Nobody nobody's ever made $1 billion being egalitarian,
Right.
right?
No,
Like
at all.
that's not how. And I don't care who your favorite is, if it's Gates, if it's Jobs, if it's Ballmer, uh, you know, across the board,
Right.
Jeff Bezos. Nobody makes $1 billion paying people what they deserve.
Ooh, speak on it.
So, so to me, like the whole concept of billionaire philanthropist is just an oxymoron, and
Mm,
and um, and so like, do if people think that he's the man with the plan and the answers to solve the situation, I don't think he's that. Is he hurting things? I don't know. There was that one organization where the lady was cutting kids' dreads off
yeah,
for
yeah. I saw that.
Oh,
like,
yes, yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't have been a part of making them any money, but I doubt that he individually made a decision on that.
Right.
Um, so I would just say, like, in terms of looking for individual heroes on activism, that's a tough ask, man. I think if people care about something, then they should be about the process of the way things go. What can we do to help people? What government can do, what individuals can do, and if you've got $1 billion, if anybody's listening to the Saints Twitter podcast, and you've got $1 billion, and I've made you feel bad, like there are some direct action people on the ground that work with these families
Yeah.
that are harmed by the criminal justice system. Um, and, you could do something, but as far as like, Mr. Carter's partnership with the National Football League, um, I don't, I couldn't tell you what they've done individually,
Mm.
and I could try to look some things up,
I
but
just thought. I mean, as somebody who's followed. I mean, he just as a fan of Jay-Z. I'm not like I don't look at celebrities as like
partnerships that the league went into with like the anti-recidivism, with Gideon's Promise, with the Civil Rights Corps, like the conversational space that created those partnerships was created by Colin Kaepernick. Um, those things would not have happened if not for Colin Kaepernick. And so it's easy to see why people felt like Cap was jilted in that.
Right.
But, and as far as I knew at that point, all those organizations didn't get any new funding because of the Rock Nation partnership. Now maybe like awareness of those organizations like will go up because of Jay-Z, but in terms of like money going into them, I didn't see any extra money going into those organizations. And there are several like boots on the ground organizations that do get Inspired Change money from the grant process. And I don't know that like their flow changed at all because of Jay-Z. I really don't at this point.
It's interesting.
Being that we probably have lost probably half of the people who actually tuned into like,
yeah. If you want to give them like a time that they can skip to,
like,
some Saints football, we could do that.
My favorite meme of like, I don't know who it is, but like the white guy taking off the headphones. Like that is half of this podcast right now. You brought up Saints Twitter, and I say this in a sense of being unbiased. Like I don't think there is a fan base quite like Saints Twitter, and I could be wrong. You interact with more fan bases of fans and things like that, but like what is, I guess, your perception as like an outsider in regards to like just the ferocity of that can be Saints Twitter sometimes?
The thing about Saints Twitter is, and honestly, because all the Twitters are different, and this is again like my slice of the pie, because I do follow over 2,000 people, so it's not like I'm super exclusive or anything, but I do tend to follow like good people, and so like say the portion of Saints Twitter that I'm exposed to, like y'all are a family. Like there's some occasional squabbles and stuff, but somebody comes in the family and they may leave, right? But then they can come back, like Cat, for example, right? like you leave, right, and it's, and like Saints Twitter will follow them and follow their teams that they're reporting on. Yep. And like be interested in that and like engage with the content for a team that supposedly, according to some consultants' views, like so somebody can only like one team or be interested in the team. To me, like NFL fans are NFL fans, and and that's definitely true for Saints fans, because honestly, let's be real, like for so long, the Saints were horrible. So like if y'all wanted to watch some football in January, you weren't watching the Saints.
That's it. Right. True.
So you had to diversify your viewership portfolio, and that comes through. I really do think that comes through. And even after 2009, there was never this haughty sense of ownership. Like I only follow like 5 Patriots fans, but like even from those 5, like you get this sense that it's like, yeah, like they were out there with Tom, like they were the one. like that was.
Do those 5 include Greg and Erica? Because if so, they don't count.
No, Greg, honestly, like I mean, y'all know, like Greg is one of the literally, like there's 8 billion people on this planet, and he's in the 1% of like good people. Yeah. So he's an outlier. You just got to throw Greg out when you're talking about Patriots fans, because honestly, like Greg might not even like the Patriots anymore. Like, let's be real.
Exactly. Like he's just that type of guy.
Yeah, but like you never get that sense of we're so much better than this. Like like all of the pain and the struggle, the hurt of losing, the hurt of living in a community that was devastated, and the government response was completely inadequate. Like that comes through, and it comes through, and it makes me appreciate Saints Twitter.
I wanted to ask you, well, I not ask you, but kind of debate, not debate, but your whole momentum thing.
Here we go.
Let's do it, man.
Let's get popping.
I mean, we don't even have to debate it, but you can't tell me that you watch a lot of football.
Patrick watches a lot of sports. It's not
not just sports in general.
Uh-huh.
And there's something there. Like I don't know, I can't scientifically quantify it. There's something there, man. Like something. You can't tell me there's nothing there. There's nothing there. You can't tell me that, man.
What I'm telling you is, human beings, we're predisposed to find patterns. It's an evolutionary response.
Facts.
We look at this and it's like, if I eat these berries, Grog ate those berries and he's dead, so I shouldn't eat those berries. And that's something that we fine-tuned over a long period of time. And we just fill in gaps sometimes, because sometimes shit just happens, man. Like, it just happens, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean something. It might not always be divine intervention. Like, sometimes the ball bounces and the player picks it up and runs in the end zone. And I think what momentum is our desire to explain what we can't explain. And sometimes, like, it's random. And I've seen too many games where people, because everybody's all, like you're watching a college game and it's Kirk Herbstreit. It's like, oh, they've got all the momentum. And the other team comes and scores 25 points. And it's like, what the hell was the point of this momentum if you're going to give up like 6 touchdowns, you throw a pick 6? And so, like, I just, like, I growing up and competing, I would just always hear these things and all, frankly, bad coaches just talking about momentum. It's like, man, tell Steve to let me know when the back screen's coming. Like, don't talk to me about momentum right now. Like, how many points is momentum worth?
And look, I don't think it's like some external force, like Star Wars force, like momentum is pushing you through. But I think there's something to be said about everyone having confidence. As Sean Payton always says, confidence comes from demonstrated ability. So everybody's on point with execution. Everybody, especially with football, it's such a team sport, and everybody's working in unison, and it's moving along. And I could see that being momentum. You know what I'm saying? Like, that being considered momentum, where everybody's on the same page and executing at a high level. And it's working your way positively. And then something could happen that would screw that momentum up, a fumble, and then maybe people start, 2 or 3 guys start trying a little extra harder, or maybe you lose focus here or there.
Well, if they're trying too hard and losing focus, then they're not executing, right? And so, like, if we're gonna call it like positive vibes, like, yeah, like, I'm sure, like, good vibes are good. Like, you're at a party, and, like, if you're a comedian telling jokes and people are laughing and you get into a groove, yeah, I mean, we can call it vibes, but just, like, to call it like a force of nature, and it's like, oh, they've got the momentum. It was like, so here's like a great example, right? So Michigan is playing South Carolina in the Outback Bowl, and there's a fumble, and Michigan doesn't really recover it, but the referee gives it to them. And it's like, yeah, they've got the momentum. And y'all remember what happens the next play?
It's the Clowney
blows this kid's head up. And he explodes on the football field. It looked like he died. And it's like, what the hell was the point of that momentum? What did it do? It didn't do anything. And so that's what kills me. And that's what, like, causes me to lash out at the term, because, like, it's just one of those things that people say all the time, and it grates on me. It's like the will to win or the determination. And it's just like, would y'all please tell me about the game? Like, what are we talking about? We're doing this, especially with college kids, and they're up there doing psychoanalysis of this 19-year-old. Man, you don't know what that 19-year-old is thinking, and I guarantee you that 19-year-old doesn't know what the hell he's thinking because he's 19.
I got to get your thoughts on The Last Dance, man.
We needed it. I think, we all watch a lot of sports, and we needed something to watch. And for those of us who are our age or older or younger, like, that was the team and that was the guy. And there was all this talk about, like, who else deserves a 10-part series? Well, nobody.
Right. Thank you.
Nobody.
Like, why? I don't. It's like, well, who else could carry? Like, why? No, because that was a unique thing. It was a unique moment. I wish that there had been some more Birmingham, and we had focused on Birmingham a little bit more. But you can't win them all. But I thought we needed more Ron Harper. Ron Harper had the line of the series.
Yeah.
To me, y'all, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When like coach wanted to put Elo on Jordan before the shot, and Ron Harper was like, yeah, okay, whatever, fuck this bullshit.
That's a mood in life.
Yeah.
That's my favorite meme from the whole thing. Like, to hell with Mike looking at his iPad a lot. Like, that's the one. Like, just that shot of Ron Harper with that look on his face.
Right.
Like, that's it for me. But I loved it, man. I thought, and I know, like, they put that together at the last minute in the midst of a global pandemic. And so, like, shout out to them, man. I thought it was fantastic.
So I guess I would be remiss as a host of the Saints Twitter if I didn't ask you anything about, like, I can just imagine a listener listening to this just being hot, like, they're not gonna ask him one question, like, what is going on?
When you send it out, man, you gotta put it in the description, like, hey, football talk starts with momentum at like 37:86.
So the Saints in 3 years, Minnesota Miracle, no call in the NFC Championship, lost to the Vikings when pretty much everyone had penciled them in to go and play against the Packers in the next round. They arguably have, top to bottom, the most stacked team, not just in the NFC, in the NFL in general, completely. What are your, I guess, perceptions about the team in terms of, like, additions, Emmanuel Sanders, and just, how do you see them, as a favorite in the NFC in this crazy thing of how games are going to be played upcoming season?
I mean, we talked about a little bit during the momentum discussion about random outcomes. And the Saints these past few years have been the victim of that. All those teams could have won the Super Bowl. I mean, y'all know that.
Yeah.
And this whole tired discussion about replay review has, like, neutered the fan base to say that the Kyle Rudolph thing wasn't a push off. He pushed off.
Thank you.
Like, I don't understand why it's, like, against the rules for y'all to say that a bad call is a bad call now because of another bad call. Like, it doesn't change anything. Like, it's not like you're crying about it when you say, like, if a car is blue, you just, hey, the car is blue. The call was bad. And so, I think, like, when you look at the receivers, and y'all been looking at that receiver group, and I see you fantasizing about bringing in this guy. Manny Sanders makes it different. It's just different. And this is a guy who was playing, just coming back from that Achilles.
Achilles, yeah.
And so now you got a healthy Manny Sanders. Presumably Breeze hasn't seen some significant decline. Now people have seen a lot of bad Jameis, but to get Jameis as a backup, that's incredible. It's incredible to think that there's a realistic chance that Sean Payton could coach the two all-time leading passing yardage quarterbacks in NFL history. if he stays long enough, because this is definitely going to be Jameis's best chance to succeed. And so I think the offense is going to be better. And Alvin being hurt, because again, you can't, if you have a bad performance after being injured, somehow that changes how good you are as a football player. It's so dumb. You have a running back with an ankle injury, and people are like, "What's wrong with him? His ankle's hurt." You only have two of them, right? So I don't care how many Bosu balls you're balancing on or how many kettlebells you're swinging. If your ankle's hurt and you play running back, it's going to be tough to be explosive.
Yeah.
And so a healthy Alvin just does so much. And honestly, like, the thing that I'm thinking about is go ahead and get Mark back. That's what the Saints need.
Man,
Because that's the reunion that could kind of, that might make me believe in momentum. If Mark Ingram comes back and wins the Super Bowl for the Saints, are you kidding me?
yeah. I feel like that's one they wish they could have back. Yeah, I would love to have Mark back. Just outside of just being a player, just I don't know. He just had that kind of spark.
It was the energy. It was his energy.
Yeah, it was definitely energy, and you could see. I don't know. I'm not going to read into it. I've never.
No, I mean it's pretty much the most foregone conclusion that Mark Ingram is going to retire as a Saint. I mean we know that's going to happen. It's just a question of when, and so the sooner the better, I think, because it's just it's a perfect match of a player and a community and a team.
I just want to know. I really want to know what Sean Payton's thinking when he's going to see Jameis Winston throwing at camp. Because Drew Brees takes every Wednesday off. Takes every Wednesday off the rest of the shoulder, and he's going to start taking like half Thursdays off. So Jameis is going to get a lot of snaps on with the one offense, with the number one offense. I just want to know what Sean Payton is going to be thinking, because we know Jameis could sling it, and he's going to be slinging it, and it's going to be 25 yards, 20 yards, 25, 30 yards on a dime,
Here's my Jameis thing, right? So he led the NFL in interceptions last year. Everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. On play action, he had 14 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Like, if somebody thinks that Sean Payton can't get guys open and Jameis Winston can't get them the ball, I mean, they're just out of their minds.
And he could see.
People act like that's ridiculous, right? We have a decade of evidence that this guy could not see. It's about as clear as day. And the thing is, Jameis is from Hueytown, Alabama. Like, I covered Jameis in high school when he was in high school. He couldn't see then. Like, Jameis could not see. He had eye problems, but he was so gifted. He could throw the baseball, he could throw the football. It doesn't really matter. You see him on Florida State on the sideline squinting. He's squinting in Tampa Bay, where the sight lines in that stadium are horrible. And like, as somebody who's visually impaired, I can see why it was tough for him to execute there. And so, like, yeah, there's so many reasons to believe that it's going to work. It's not worth it to put a hero on the bench, but there's a lot of reasons to feel good about it, and it was so cheap for them. It shouldn't have been cheap. It was cheap because of the quarterback market, and the quarterback is black. But that was the outcome. That was the outcome that happened. So you take advantage of it.
You brought up. I mean, I don't want to get back to it, but you just brought up such a good point of seeing like what Jameis is getting paid compared to like what Joe Flacco is getting from the Jets. That like incentives can go up to like $4 million. It's just. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, more power to Joe. By all means, I'm sure he's a great dude. I'm not sure that people saw the Denver Broncos play with Joe Flacco at quarterback last year.
Right.
Like, Game Pass is free right now. If anybody's still listening to this, and I haven't run you off of my takes, you think my takes are bad, or my cadence, or my voice, or my internet connection, go watch Joe Flacco play football for the Denver Broncos in 2019.
Whew.
Just do it, and get back to me at Patrick Claybon on Twitter.com and tell me what you think about Joe Flacco. I mean, he got hot and won a Super Bowl. Man.
Only thing I remember about Flacco last season was his last game when he had that presser, and he was hot. He was like, "You got to play to win the game," and he was done the next day, like he was on IR or something.
That's right. He had called out. Like the offensive court. It was bad. You know, it was.
And they ran him out of there.
God.
But there was never that discussion, right? Because Joe has the.
That's just Joe being Joe.
He's got the shade to get the grade, baby. You know what I'm saying? He's got the hue that don't misconstrue. And so it's generally going to be okay. But I don't get it. And I know there's a lot of believers out there, like quarterback mentors and all that. I would just like to see like how it works. Like, because do people give Joe credit for mentoring Lamar?
I'll never forget Lamar's rookie season. I don't know were they playing the Saints? I think they were playing the Saints. And Lamar, this is before Lamar was starting, and there was a play where I think Lamar was either at wide receiver or somewhere, and he is wide open. He is streaking in the end zone. Joe, I don't want to say it was on purpose. Joe did not look this man's way at all.
I mean, I don't want to, Joe is he was really good. And I don't know what happened. I'm sure it has something to do with his injury. But there was a time where, like, you have back and neck problems. It's really hard. Like, football is not good for you.
No.
And, like, so you're not going to get better playing football if you've got back and neck injuries. And so, like, maybe he's doing great now. But these past couple of years, man, it's been a rough watch. It's been really rough. And so, like, if Sam Darnold gets mono again, whew.
The Jets are such a mess. What are some, kind of moving away from the Saints, like what are some, and this season is just going to be just bizarre, but like what are some teams that you're, excited to see in terms of like the moves they've made, or teams that you can, see potentially being like feisty, or just excited to watch?
Well, I mean, as a certified Lamar Jackson stan, I'm just gonna be glued to everything that he and the Ravens do. But that kind of goes without saying. I'm ready to go. If I'm not working on a Sunday, I'm ready to drive up to SoFi and see Tyrod finally get his shot.
Stop it, Patrick.
I am, man.
So
I'm gonna do it.
So what, week 1 or week 2? Because that's how.
That's it.
Did you guys watch Justin Herbert play at Oregon? Did you see the Oregon games?
Okay, man. Me and Ryan have had this conversation. He is the most sleepy, uninspiring quarterback prospect I have seen in a while. Like, I watched him and I was like this dude, like this is what people are hyped for, him. So you're preaching to the choir.
I don't get it. I trust my dude DJ, and he came around on Herbert. And so, like, there could easily be something that I've missed. But, just in my experience, I think this is the year of Tyrod, man. I do.
Come on, man.
And I know that's crazy, but I'm ready to see it. I mean, y'all ask me what I'm excited about.
Okay.
I like Tyrod, man. I like Tyrod as a prospect. He was like the poor man's Mike Vick. I was like, I thought he was gonna do something in the league. So he was successful in Buffalo. Like he's done pretty well for himself, I would say. But he's just one of those guys that they just always try to push out really quickly.
But like, there's other, like, in turn, there's some things that I'm not excited about, and I guess it is exciting for you guys. Like, I don't know what warrants more Dirk Cutter in Atlanta. I've seen, we saw the Shanahan years with Matt Ryan and Julio, and then things have just been weird since then. And I'm just like, I know that there's 330 million people some odd in America, and I just don't see why it has to be Dirk Cutter in Atlanta. Like, nothing inspires me to believe that things are going to be demonstrably better. So I wish I could be excited about like this girly comeback season, but I just know it's not. And I'm not trying to bag on some coaches, but like we saw Cam carry Mike Shula for years, and then like Danny Dimes has this one season, and it's like, oh yeah, all right, we got to get Mike Shula out of here. And so I want to be excited, and I want to see some new play callers. I want to get new personalities, because like some of these retreads, it's just not doing it for me. So like
the retreads are amazing, which leads into my final question for you. The whole minority coach thing. I mean, we don't have to go into that whole proposal that wasn't even really voted on. But just what's your take on it?
The problems in the National Football League are America's problems too. Like, and so like it was like Bomani Jones said, like if you're trying to solve the problem, like then you have to solve the problem. And the NFL isn't going to be able to solve the problem. Like it's gonna be tough because what we have is a society that values some people and trusts some people more than others, and we just happen to fall in that community that's not valued and not trusted and not respected. And so, to me, the hiring process just has to be as public as possible. That's the only way to make it work. You tape the interviews, you tape the discussions, and then it's like, fans can watch and they can listen to somebody talk about football. And if you're doing something where that the public is going to hold you to account, maybe you'll go about the process a little bit differently. But when we have a league that looks like ours player-wise, we have a country that looks like ours, and people who appreciate football and play football and have access to football. Because even though football requires so much equipment, it requires a field, there's not a lot of people keeping you from playing football. You can get to a football field and you can play. You can find an organized league, a peewee league, a flag league. There's always some place to play football. And a lot of people that play football or around football, coach football, are black. And the idea that when you get to the college and professional level that somehow black people aren't as good at it, that's just not true. And anybody can see that.
Yeah, and yeah, go ahead.
No, and I was just gonna say, like, and so you can't force people to change their hiring practices, but what you can do is have parameters, in my opinion, that open things up so where that people can see who's being hired and why. And if it's, because like, oh, this guy reminds me of my son, it's like, okay. But you just, if you can't make the interview process blind, because America's never going to be blind on this topic, but you can just have things public and available. And I think that's true for the NFL. That's true for investment companies. That's true for .coms. That's true for hospitals, police officers. It's just, we start in America right now with the assumption that like, oh, give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, no, like after, 400 years on this continent, like it's time we start assuming the worst of people and expecting better of them.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Michael Lombardi on his podcast was just talking about how, the coaching hires, GM hires, like it has nothing to do with a meritocracy, like at all. It's, it's purely politics, who you know,
Yep.
whose brother is, I mean, it has nothing to do with it. So when I hear comments like, "Oh, they just need to hire the best," and what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
The best.
like that just that doesn't happen in companies sometimes. Like the best person doesn't
No,
get the promotion. Like
of course
that's
not.
so the NFL is no different from that whatsoever.
And the implication there when people say that is like, oh, well, they should just hire the best available. The implication is just that we're just not good enough, right? And that's why we haven't gotten the jobs.
Of course.
Is that a black candidate just isn't as good. so you can just dismiss that outright.
Poor Eric Bieniemy.
If Joe Judge looks like Eric Bieniemy,
Oh, all right, come on now.
I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know, but
No.
I can tell you that in terms of the accomplishments, Eric should be a head coach, and he would be a head coach, in my opinion. And somebody's just going to need to show me a different country with a different history if you're going to make me believe that I'm wrong.
I don't got nothing else for Patrick. If you made it to the end of this episode, like you don't get like a special prize or anything. But
no, you do, man. If anybody made it to the end of this episode, hit me up. Use the passcode Taco63, and I'll figure something out. We'll do something for you.
It's funny because we've had a lot of great guests on, but in terms of his actual conversations, I think I can't speak for Ryan, but this has been it's been one of my favorites.
Yeah, same here.
It's just me, catching up with my dudes, and like that's and like the ability to do that is what makes a lot of podcasts successful. Like Greg, Dan, and Chris and Mark.
Yeah.
Some of their best episodes are when they're just being dudes. So
yeah, absolutely.
And like there's a brothership here. Like Patrick was born in Alabama, Ryan was born in Louisiana, I was born in Texas, but my family came from Troy, Alabama. So like we know what it's like. Like we all have all have those experiences, and so we've obviously I've met with Ryan in person, but like we don't have to meet Patrick in person to still have like we all know. And so in terms of conversation, it was a much needed conversation, and we some of it was lighthearted in terms of Ryan's ordeal today, but I think it's a conversation that still obviously needs to continue. And like I don't want our podcast to be pigeonholed to just be X and O saint. Like there's tons of other saints mediums that people can access to if that's what you're looking for. But we're gonna do our thing how we want to do it on our podcast. So if he hasn't already blocked you yet, you can follow Patrick on Twitter at Patick Claybon. But don't try to follow him if you don't like it. It's pointless. Like don't just say the time. Just save the energy.
I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate y'all, and we will meet. We will meet in purpose. God willing, I keep this job. We're gonna have a Super Bowl out here.
Not so sure about Ryan. I'm more confident. Me and Ryan's a wild card.
Well, Ryan is known to shirk on social responsibility.
What can I say, man? I mean,
I'm
a flake. I am. I'm a flake.
The
So
funny
we'll figure it out, man.
It's funny because I give Ryan a lot of shit, but in terms of people I have spent a lot of time with Ryan in person. probably more than most. So I can't even give him that much shit. But the funny thing was, like, we all had a plan week 2, go to Vegas, experience like the new stadium, Saints Raiders in Vegas. Saints Twitter was going to hit it up. Coronavirus hits, and then because that's the opening game in that stadium, even if games are being played with fans, tickets were going for like $1,000 for like the cheap ticket. So that got immediately canceled.
Won't be there.
No, we'll not be there. But thank you for coming on, man. It was good, man. It was fun. It was just, just talking, about real shit. So we appreciate you coming on. We got to get you on again sometime.
Let's do it, man.
Love you, Patrick, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys, man. Y'all have a good one.
You too, man. You go be super dad, and congrats to the new edition that's on the way soon.
Congrats, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So with that, we're gonna get out of here. You can follow Ryan on Twitter if you want to after the day. At ThatBoyWolf. Don't try to follow me on Twitter. It's pointless. With that, we're out.
Peace.
All right.
O'Reilly. You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.